16 minutes after 8 o'clock, this is Morning News Today on this Easter Monday. Now, South Africa has one of the highest rates of fetal alcohol syndrome in the world, but there's a new scourge on the rise. Child rights activists and welfare organizations and other NGOs are now concerned about the increase in cases of drug-addicted mothers and the impact this has on their children. Jasmin Koverjee is a clinical psychologist and is joining us now in the studio. Jasmin, good morning. Happy Easter Monday. Thank you very much for coming through on this wet morning here in Johannesburg. It's raining in other parts of the country as well. Just start the overriding question. Do these child rights activists, NGOs, who are now raising a flag, say, guys, red flag, the impact on the well-being of children by drug-addicted mothers is becoming more and more serious?
It's absolutely increasing day by day. And the problem is mothers are feeling more helpless in terms of they're not too sure how to get help. And we're finding it an increase, especially in our young mothers, and especially those that don't have much support. So they go to desperate measures. They feel like they can't get out of the negative cycle.
Yeah, I mean, recently we saw a case of the body of little Oderick Lucas in the Western Cape, who went missing after apparently his mother, who's confessed to taking drugs, had left the child with an acquaintance.
You see, once you're in that mind state and you're impacted by the drugs in your mind, it doesn't allow you to actually think properly. So what happens is they make a decision in an incorrect state of mind. So they don't think clearly, they don't make responsible decisions, and they do something impulsively to ensure at that point in time they get what they want. So at that point in time, if mom's, high on drugs, she's going to make a decision based on serving that habit, ensuring she can do the habit, and therefore makes a decision to leave her child with any stranger.
What kind of support, from a psychological perspective, that can be then given to mothers in that situation to prevent them losing their children?
Well, I think it's really hard because it's a very hard decision to decide to take away your child from their mother. But in terms of that one, the person first has to want to get help. You can't really help someone that doesn't want any help. Secondly, it's also about the community ensuring that they report these parents, not to harm them in any way, but also to try and get them some intervention. Because the community sometimes, they think they're helping, they take care of the child, they'll feed the child, but they don't realize that they're sending the child back into a space where mom still can't look after the child.
Yeah, I was looking at a report earlier about cases where there's abuse of children with the mother knowing, but they are so high at the time that they can't do much to protect their own child from physical abuse.
They can't because they're not in the right state of mind. They're intoxicated. Your mind, once again, is not functioning the way it should be.
Yeah, you are a psychologist, but I will ask you this question because some people feel the legal system is also failing the children, that maybe the courts must start asking the mothers whom you say need help, but they need to first recognize that they need help.
Absolutely.
Start asking them tough questions.
They have to ask tough questions, and the problem is sometimes social workers, they get really scared to try and help the child because they themselves think, where are they going to put this child? Our resources are not that good anyway. So our care centers are full, our foster homes are full, so we really do struggle at times. The social workers feel helpless themselves, and then that's why we find a lot of cases slipping through the cracks as well.
Why is it, in your view, from your experience, that women, young mothers particularly, don't want to seek help? Seemingly, they don't want to seek help.
Well, it's embarrassment, it's stigma. Some part of them is really scared to lose their child, so they don't want to lose their child. The other part of them is they don't acknowledge they have a problem. And that's our biggest issue.
And so stigma plays a bigger part.
Absolutely. So they get rejected by the community, they get rejected by society, they get rejected by their families. And that's our biggest, the fear factor for them.
Well, social welfare, the departments, could they do anything differently to make sure that they take away the stigma?
Well, I think a lot of psychoeducation with the community will help because it's about letting the community know that they're not harming the mom by getting intervention. They're not harming the family system by getting intervention. They're actually helping them.
Yeah, as we conclude, I know we're speaking about very young children. Some cases they're toddlers, but others are maybe they're older than 5, than 6. From a psychological perspective, they must be going through some traumatic stuff.
So those are the children we find most traumatized because at from like 2 years up, they're starting to recognize, they're starting to understand what's going on around them. So we have a lot of mothers that will leave their children at home by themselves at 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, fending for themselves, gone out at night, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and these kids are alone in the household. So we have a lot of kids that are traumatized, and they also see the violence the mothers experience when they come back home.
It's a huge challenge. I think it's a societal problem as well, more than being an individual problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. That's clinical psychologist Jasmin Koverjee talking to us about the tragedy of children who have young mothers who are addicted to some form of substance like drugs.